Hello! Today we're going to be going over a brief introduction to Mendeley. This is another reference management tool similar to Zotero. Like Zotero, it is free and easy to use. Unlike Zotero, Mendeley is not an open access or open source project. Instead, it is managed by Elsevier, one of the largest academic publishing companies in the world. This means that Mendeley is a bit more polished than Zotero, but some academics prefer to use Zotero because of ethical concerns about Elsevier. With this in mind, we at Fraser Memorial Library wanted to provide information about how to use both popular reference management systems. We'll start at our search engine of choice. We'll now go to the top link. We are now at the main website for Mendeley. Here, we're going to go ahead and click the download button at the top. We're going to go to the download now button, and we can see it downloading in the bottom left corner. So we'll give it a second. Once it's downloaded, we'll click the box. This option depends on you, but I'll leave it as it is for now. So we'll click install. We'll leave this box checked, and we'll click finish. We now have Mendeley as a shortcut, and we'll click this. Now we're going to have to set up an account. After asking you to provide your email and some basic personal information, you will now have an Elsevier account. So we'll click continue. And this is our library. Before we dig any deeper into the library, we need to go back to the main page for Mendeley. Once you're at the download page, go ahead and scroll down. And if we look under downloads, we'll see Web Importer, and we'll click this. The Web Importer is a browser extension that will allow you to easily download sources to your library from wherever you're browsing on the internet. Let's go ahead and click this red button. We'll click Add to Chrome, Add Extension, and we now have the button at the top right of our screen, right next to our Zotero button. Now that we have our browser extension, let's go ahead and look for some sources. So let's go to the McNeese Library website. From the website, we'll just use the basic search function, and we'll type in our usual search terms, end of life, and bioethics. Okay, we'll go ahead and just pick a random source. Number 3 looks good because it's got full text options available. We have our Mendeley button at the top. It's going to ask you to sign in, so do that now. Okay, after signing in, we have a few options available. So it shows that 3 references were detected. So the first reference is the source that we chose, Communication and Bioethics and the End of Life. And then there's 2 more being shown. And then we've got 2 more sources here. So what Mendeley is picking up, if we look to the bottom of our entry, are the 2 references that our original source reference. So we have Geisler 2006, McCarthy 2003, and here we have Geisler 2006, McCarthy 2003. And if we look further, we actually have 2 versions of the original source that we're interested in looking in. So we have the reference here at the very top, and we'll click this, and this has the information about the source, all the metadata. We'll cancel edit. And if we go to the bottom, it shows web page instead of reference. We'll click this. And instead of all the metadata information, it's just a link to this particular URL to EBSCOhost as hosted through McNeese. We'll go back and let's just go ahead and check that first box. And we'll add to Mendeley. Okay, so what we can do, we can view library. And so now it's showing up under recently added. Right now we're looking at it in our browser, but we can actually double check our desktop application. And here it is as well. However, if we click this entry, we have some basic information and we do have a link to the source, but we don't have the actual source in hand. So let's go and get it. We'll go back to EBSCOhost and we'll just exit out of this real quick and let's go to PDF full text. And so we can just download this source. Let's bring up our desktop manager and we're just going to drag it over to where we want it. Okay, so we now have 2 versions of the same source. For whatever reason, we have one that's marked 2020 and one that's marked 2018. So we'll look at the one with the downloaded PDF, which we can tell is this top one because of a check mark under the Word file. We'll single click and we will go to info. And so we have the necessary metadata, but of course, if we want to add more information, we can. And let's look at the file itself and let's figure out which year the source should be for. So we'll click read and here we have our PDF. So it looks like the confusion comes from the fact that this is a book review and the book being reviewed was published in 2017, but the review itself was published in 2020. And so if this were a source that you planned on keeping, you would want to make sure to make the appropriate updates in your metadata info. So all this information here, you are able to edit as necessary. While we're here, I'd like to show you one of the best parts of Mendeley and one of the main things that separates it from Zotero. Mendeley gives you the ability to edit and annotate your sources through the application, and then you can share your sources with anyone you might be working with. So here, we'll highlight 2017 and we'll add a sticky note. And there we go. We just saw that it's synced. Anyone that we might share the source with would see the highlight and the sticky note. And even if you don't have anyone you'd like to share your sources with, this is still a great way to make sure that all your notes stay in one place. If we go to annotations, we'll see the note that I created right here. If we want to have more in-depth notes, or perhaps our large takeaways from the source that we've read, we can add to our notebook. So we'll click New Page. Let's go back to our main library. So we can go ahead and just get rid of this incorrect source that lists 2018. So we'll check that box and then we'll click delete. And if we go to trash on our left, we'll see it right here, the 2018 source. So we have all of our references, but let's say that we're working on multiple projects at once. So we want to stay organized. To do this, we can go to collections, and here in gray, it says new collection. So we'll just click this and we'll type in what we want our collection to be. And then we'll press enter. Next, we have groups. So let's just say we're working with a philosophy class. Click more actions. We can go to manage group, and then we can invite members. Again, this is one of those handy tools that separates Mendeley from Zotero. But we'll go ahead and exit out of that. I went ahead and added some more sources from EBSCOhost from the McNeese library, but let's go ahead and search outside of McNeese. And we'll check for end of life and bioethics. So we'll scroll down, we'll check this bottom source. You can download the PDF, or let's go ahead and see what happens when we click the Mendeley button. So we have the main source here, and it looks like it's picking up the PDF. So when we add it, it should add it directly. And then we have 49 more references. Not all of these have the PDF, but let's go ahead and check the boxes of the ones that do. For my library, we'll check down and we'll add it to a specific collection, end of life and bioethics, and we'll add. Okay, so everything should be ready. Now we can see that everything is waiting for us, whether in our desktop application or in our cloud library. And this concludes our very brief introduction to Mendeley. Whether you choose to work with Zotero, Mendeley, or another reference manager, we hope that you'll come to us at Fraser Memorial Library for any of your research needs. Thank you.